We have so many people that approach us who become very frustrated and disillusioned and upset with themselves because they can't maintain a diet and they can't lose weight. And therefore, we have a lot of people saying to us, how can I win at weight loss? How can I succeed and finally be able to live peacefully without having to feel like I'm in some sort of a battle?
Some statistics say that 98% of diets fail, and why is that? Well, the thing is, you've created a lot of habits around food. There's certain foods that you eat on a daily, hourly basis, and then suddenly you go on a diet and you've got a whole new group of foods that you're supposed to eat, and the transition is just too big because all these foods that you spend, months, years, even decades eating on a regular basis, suddenly you can't have them. And just consider, it's sort of like if you've ever tried to give up anything, but let's use smoking as an example. If you've tried to give up smoking, it's difficult. That's one thing. But when you go on a diet, you might have 10, 20 items of food that you're used to eating, and then suddenly you can't have them because you're on this new diet.
A huge bulk of people, for them, overeating is a symptom, and behind that symptom, there is a cause. And the fact is that when we eat, we do release, particularly sort of like junk foods and sugary foods, we do release sort of feel good neurotransmitters, and like dopamine, for example, which is when we feel happy and in love. So if we're not feeling great, if we've got things in our past, for example, that still pain us emotionally today, then we may use food to self-medicate with. So that's one of the reasons that people overeat. They've got issues in the past that have been left unaddressed, and therefore in the here and now, they continue to self-medicate with food.
And let's consider that the reason why, because no one is born overweight. So if you look back at your past, you'll find a point. And so many of our clients say, yeah, I've looked at photographs and it was at that age and that I put the weight on. And you can identify, and a lot of people have said like, well, yeah, I got bullied at school and that was the start of it.
Yeah, so a lot of people will sabotage because of bullying or because they don't feel good enough, or they might have been in a relationship where there might have been some sort of abuse or bullying, and maybe have been told by that person, that you're not good enough, or you don't succeed at anything. And if that's the message that you're giving yourself, that you don't deserve it, that you're not going to succeed at anything, then every time you take on healthy eating and weight loss, you throw the towel in very quickly because you think, well, what's the point, because I'm going to give up anyway. So the way to address that is to look for what might have happened in your past for which you might still carry some emotional baggage that is hurting you today. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons that we turn to food. I mean, it's a great void filler. So, if, for example, we're lonely, or we're going through grief, or we've got too much time on our hands and we haven't got direction, then we will use food to sort of fill that void and to fill that gap.
Also, if you're emulating someone else, if your parents are overweight and you want to get close to your parents, then you will copy their behaviour.
Yeah, that is a very common one actually. People don't appreciate just how much that can impact you, and low self-esteem. Pretty much everybody that we've sat with who's come to us and said, listen, I've got an issue around overeating and I can't lose weight, pretty much every one of those that I can think of has had low self-esteem. And again, that low self-esteem comes because of something that's happened in the past.
Because no one's born with great self-esteem or low self-esteem.
Very true. So that's another thing that you need to look at, is that why do you feel bad about yourself? Who made you feel bad about yourself? And then really question that. Question, what motive did they have to be mean to you? Because usually when it comes to bullying or anybody that knocks your self-esteem, the reason that they do that is because they themselves have low self-esteem and they see you in a higher position than them. You're shining for some reason and they need to push you down to make themselves feel better about them. So the issue is actually theirs and not yours. And again, love as well, or a lack of love or a broken heart, that can lead to overeating. So in essence, that if we feel we need comfort, if we need to self-medicate, if we need to fill a void, we might turn to food in those moments. So the biggest message in your weight loss success is not about what you should eat, not about how often you should exercise. The first thing should be addressing and understanding why you overeat. And a great thing that you can do is to fill a timeline of your life, really, and systematically go through those events to help put a positive spin on that, to get a better perspective. Because by working through each of those components, you might be surprised that something that you don't even think could be a reason or that's responsible for your overeating actually could be. And many people that we come across do. But there's also lots of other things that you can do to help to win at weight loss.
So just recap there, just establishing. The first thing that you need to do is look at, why did I put the weight on in the first place? That's the first thing. And then when, and does whatever that situation, and usually from our experience, there's some sort of trauma behind it, and does that trauma still apply? That's the first thing. The second thing then is looking at, okay, well, if you want to lose weight and you're looking at different diets, and apparently there's as many as 30,000 registered diets in the world, you want to, before you start looking at that, is just write down, have a food diary and write down over a 2-week period everything that you eat. And then looking at that 2 weeks food diary, what are better alternatives that you can have? Because it's so easy to stick within the food groups and the foods that you're used to eating than try and go from something to something entirely different. You're not going to stick to that. So what can you do to change those foods and find healthy alternatives? So for example, instead of using butter, using avocado.
Weight loss isn't about following a diet. A diet is not sustainable long term. And to be honest with you, if you do go on a diet, you will become food obsessed. It's okay to have a drink and to have some unhealthy foods now and again. The thing is, we shouldn't be having them consistently. So if that's at a weekend or a nice meal, that is okay. And that is something that's really important. Don't over restrict yourself, because if you over restrict yourself, you're going to feel really miserable, and then you're going to start eating more junk food. The fact is, food is pleasurable, and it's also something that we do with family and with friends, and it brings people together. So it shouldn't be avoided, but you can make healthier and better choices, and particularly when, as Nick said earlier, that you address the cause. Another good thing that you can do, and note, if you're keeping some sort of a journal or a log, and there's also apps and things that you can use, or you can even use your telephone to register and log down what you're eating, is also to consider, if you're turning to sweet foods, junk foods, high fat foods, what were you thinking about? What was going on right then? What kind of things were happening? Just to try and do a little bit of detective work as to possible triggers that are making you overeat. Another thing to consider is hormones. Hormones can hugely impact your need to eat. So that's always something that's worth checking out as well. Speaking to your GP or your doctor and just asking for some blood tests just to ensure that everything's okay in that department. And I know that a lot of ladies, when you're sort of going through menopause, that can lead to, because your mood drops a little bit around that time due to the hormones, you might use food then. However, I can say, having been there, that it doesn't mean that you're going to put lots of weight on. Yes, it might take a little bit longer to lose weight. However, you can work through it by following a nice healthy diet, but also there's lots of other things you can do to sort of lift your mood. So whether that's watching funny films and comedies that will naturally help you to release the feel good hormones, things like reflexology, meditation, dancing, singing. So even if you have got some sort of hormonal imbalance, there are still things that you can do to elevate your mood.
So other things, keeping hydrated. Most people do not drink enough, and I know that there's talk about 6-8 glasses of water a day, but that obviously depends on your size. The better formula is 0.6 of an ounce for every pound of body weight that you have, as a minimum, just to keep your body hydrated. Because if your body's not hydrated, then your organs don't work properly, and therefore it doesn't get rid of the toxins and the waste and so on. So 0.6 of an ounce for a pound of body weight every day, to keep yourself hydrated and to keep flushing the toxins out.
Yep, so sleep, again, is really, really important. If you're sleep deprived, you will eat more because you're going to need energy. But also, the hormone that is secreted that makes us feel hungry, ghrelin, is actually, the production of that is increased when you're tired, and leptin, the hormone that tells you that you're full, less of that is created. So if you're tired, you will eat more.
Buying smaller plates. It sounds silly, but most people have been taught, clear your plate. So if you're in that habit of clearing your plate, then obviously if you have smaller plates, then you'll be eating less and still clearing the plate. And one thing that also, whilst we're on that subject, is make sure that you eat consciously, because so many people put the TV on, or they'll be watching something and looking at social media, and they start eating, and then they end up eating the food unconsciously, and they don't register how much they've eaten. So smaller plates, engage with your food, eat it consciously, and put your knife and fork down in between each mouthful, because what that does, it takes longer for you to have the meal, and therefore it takes longer, and your brain then can register that you're full, because a lot of people have eaten the meal, and before the stomach has actually sent them a message to tell them that they're full, they carry on eating and they overeat.
The other thing that we'd like you to consider is the people that are in your life, because if you've got somebody else in your life that overeats, then they may be encouraging you to do that. So just be careful of that. And also, you might have people in your life that would sabotage you if you started to lose weight. For no other reason than it's making them feel bad about themselves. So it's not personal to you, but do be aware of people around you. But talking about friends and people around you, a great way to stay healthy and to exercise more is to actually do that with a friend, because we're more likely to maintain, if there's sort of more than one of you, if there's like 2 or 3 of you and you're doing it together, then you can motivate each other, and we're more likely to do more for others than we will ourselves. So tell other people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to do it so that we can have more fun and I've got more energy and that kind of thing. Maybe do this, take this journey of health with somebody else, your partner, your friend, parent.
So many people say, I need to lose some weight, but they don't put any clarity on that. And the fact is, if you say I need to lose some weight, and you start restricting your food intake or doing something or more exercise to start losing weight, as soon as you lose a pound and you get on the scales, you've lost weight, and your brain goes, okay, it's worked. And that's it, it stops. So what you need to do is get some clarity. You need to say, right, okay, I've got a wedding in 3 months' time, I'm going on holiday in 6 months' time, and I want to look good on the beach. So you've got a time frame, and you say, right, okay, from now to that time, I need to lose 8 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it may be. So you've got clarity then, and you can work it out. So if you're going away in 10 months, you're 10 pounds overweight, it's literally £1 a month. It's that easy. But one thing also is, don't expect too much. Most people have put weight on over years, and then they want to lose it in 2 months. And it doesn't work that way. So if it's taking a long time to put the weight on, just give yourself a break. Do it over a 12-month period, even over a 2-year period. Don't expect too much.
Yeah. So I suppose the message is, take your time, know exactly, get a very clear goal, and don't rush, don't panic. You do still have to enjoy life. But our book, Winning at Weight Loss, will actually help you to work through and look at the emotional side. So it's Winning at Weight Loss, and also in this book we've got some great techniques, step by step, to help you change your perspective on the foods that you can't resist, that you shouldn't eat, that do sabotage your weight loss. Chocolate, chips, crisps, fries.
Everybody's got food vice.
So if you wanted to have a look at that, that is a really great, it's not about dieting, this is about getting your mind on side as well, so that it makes it a lot easier.